Great Q&A yesterday. You were great.
Thank you.
Really great.
How does it feel to be the champ?
Feels good. I feel the same.
Anything change?
Nope, nothing's changed. Still training hard, and like I tell everybody, regardless of whatever happens in the octagon, I'm gonna go home, clean a litter box, wash dishes, and then go back to training
What
again.
about video games?
Video games stay the same too. I keep it playing. When I get ready for the training camp, video games isn't my top priority anymore. Not that it is when I'm not training. My wife is, and house and all that stuff.
Good call.
Absolutely, I know, huh?
Yeah. Good call. Call of Duty or the Halo? I wanted to ask you about that. Just since they both came out.
I love Halo 4. I'm more of a big advocate for Halo 4 just because it gives you a lot more things you can do. For Call of Duty, I've been playing Call of Duty too, just because my friends have been playing it, and I want to spend time with those guys as well.
How much, now that you're facing John Dodson, how much attention have you paid to them? I mean, he seems to be a kind of guy who talks a little bit of trash and will say things. I mean, does that affect you at all?
No,
Listen to it.
no, not at all. I don't listen to it. I'm just focused on me always evolving, getting better as a mixed martial artist, and just focus on make sure I don't get injured, staying healthy, and just coming clear-minded in this fight.
When you look back at your fight with Joseph, do you feel that the scoring was appropriate, or would you have scored it differently yourself?
I would have scored it differently myself. I agree with Dana White. I had a 4-1. But at the same time, the judges are looking for something that I don't know what they're looking for. And I always tell myself, I don't know if any of these judges have ever fought in their entire lives, so they don't know what's going on in the octagon.
He's fighting Ian McCall, and so you fought both of them. How do you see that going down between the two of them?
Okay, so Ian McCall, he's very good fundamentally. Ian McCall, he's a strategist. He has good technique, and he comes from a good background. Joseph Benavidez, he's a killer. Joseph's a specialist. He does stuff that just works for him. Because I try to do what he does in the gym, it does not work for me. So it's gonna be a great fight. It's gonna come down who wants it more and who makes a mistake. That's what I tell people. It's all about, everybody's like, oh man, you dance around. I was like, do you realize if I step this way, I get hit, I'm dropped? You don't realize, do you? So it's because you make a mistake.
You mentioned that Ian, that he might have finished you if you had, if you hadn't showboated. Do you really believe that?
Well, do I, like I tell you, I was never hurt. I was never, out of it and getting, hurt or whatever. But just the way the UFC, the rolling is and all that stuff, then if I look at the rule book, I'm like, okay, I'm not, whatever, the referee would have stopped it. But the ref knew that I was fine, and I go thumbs up, and I'm like, don't stop it, I'm fine. So.
He told me recently that he didn't take the second fight with you that seriously.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that when you hear it?
Well, I like how when people just talk about stuff like that, and my favorite response to that is a guy who's not even a fighter. He scrolls on and I look, and this guy goes, really, you didn't take the second fight seriously, even though it was the biggest fight of your life into title championship. So you about his personality, I guess. What do you think about the sport?
You talked a little bit about how people say, oh, you're just jumping around in there and they don't realize the intricacies of it. I mean, it seems like that's, for the flyweight so far, that's been kind of a tough sell with fans. I mean, what do you think it's going to take for people to, do you think it's just a matter of there are intricacies that they'll never understand? I mean, what's going to happen there?
That's true. They might never understand. It's a different, ball game. It's like, have any of you guys seen basketball?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so when basketball came out, and the reason why everybody was loving it, or the movie or whatever, is because the trash talking whatever. It was something new brought into basketball, football, they made into a sport. And that's basically what we're doing in mixed martial arts. And now, we're pretty mainstream now, but now we're gonna throw in a new weight class where these guys give you something different than just, rock and sock 'em robots. We're bringing in, footwork, technique, cardio, where, this guy might hit hard, but I have a good jaw. So does that mean he has no knockout power?
It's just that people go, he's the baddest man on the planet at $125, and then it just doesn't, it just sounds different.
Yeah, I can see it now. Like a guy's at home, big belly, white beard, whatever, with his son, and he goes, the baddest man on the planet. He's 125, he goes, looks at his kid, he goes, you about that same size, John. You be the best man on the planet. I mean, that's probably what's going through their mind, and that's fine, that's okay.
Really? I mean, how can that be fine? I think that would bug me if I was the champion at that weight and other people are just kind of writing it off.
But that's the same thing. I'm just a normal person, just like little John at home. I mean, I'm just, I'm just a normal person. I just love to compete. I like to look at myself not as a fighter. I look at myself as a professional athlete where I take my sport very seriously. It doesn't piss me off.
Because you could probably beat him up.
I don't want to say that because who knows? I might make a mistake and he might bum rush me to the corner and just be like this, and you never know.
One thing that interests me is that Benavidez and McCall, they're the winner could be back in there with you.
Yeah.
Do you view that along the same lines as a Chael Sonnen getting a title shot, or another like Nick Diaz getting a title shot? Just that you've already beaten both of them and one of them twice. Do you kind of think it's like the same thing?
No, not at all. My job's just to fight and train hard and be the best that I can be when I'm scheduled and contracted to fight. And it's a very high caliber fight. I mean, those guys are really good. I mean, I think those two are the best number 1 and number 2 in the weight class not because of they haven't won a lot of fights in the UFC, but their skill set and everything is really good. And we were all throwing in a big pool. It was like you throw 3 sharks in there, 1 shark got out with the belt, and these sharks are still in there. Those guys are really good. I look, very up to those guys. Not up to them, but I think very highly of them. Very highly of both of them.
Now, have you done any of your own personal scouting, looking at fighting in, let's say, Asia, India? How they're talking about going to these new places because that's going to expand your weight class in particular.
Kinda. When Matt Hume, he goes all around. He has his hands in ONE FC, Dream and all that stuff. And Bibiano Fernandez comes to my gym and he trains and stuff. And even though he's a weight class higher, I sometimes keep my eye out, for that stuff. And the last person I had my eye on, I was like, that guy looks pretty good, was Antonio Benuelos fought a guy at 125, and the guy was pretty stacked. He looked big, and I was like, that's a big flyweight. And he looked good, and I was like, he looks good. I'll remember you. And that's what I done with John Dodson when I was at 135 when he fought Pat Ramirez and all that stuff. I saw him fight, and I was like, okay, check and keep it back in my mind. Good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Great to see you.
I'll be
Thank you,
glad
we
to.
appreciate it.
Oh, yes.